Welcome to Lukebook Money, built for Singapore. Today, 30 habits of the people who quietly reached the $10 million club. Steal as many as you can. What do the people who actually reach $10 million do differently from everyone else? We studied them closely. The self-made ones, the quiet ones, the ones you would never, ever pick out in a crowd. And the same habits kept showing up, again and again and again. Not flashy ones. Quiet, boring, repeatable ones. So here are 30 of them, about a minute each. Don't just watch. Steal as many of these as you possibly can. Habit 1. They pay themselves first. Before they spend a single dollar, the money for investing is already gone. It's automatically swept into their portfolio the very day their income lands. The average person does the exact opposite. They spend first, and then try to save whatever happens to be left at the end of the month. Which, almost always, is nothing at all. Reverse the order, and you quietly remove willpower from the entire equation. You don't have to feel disciplined, because the saving already happened before you could touch the money. The number to aim for? Automate at least 20% of every single paycheck straight into investments, before you ever even see it. Set up that one automatic transfer today, and your wealth genuinely starts building itself in the background, whether you remember to or not. Habit 2. They live far below their means. The man worth 10 million often drives a 5-year-old Japanese car and eats at the hawker center. Not because he has to, but because he genuinely doesn't care to impress anyone. Because real wealth is simply the gap between what you earn and what you spend. The bigger you make that gap, the faster you get rich. It really is that simple. Meanwhile, the people frantically showing off the cars and the watches are very often the ones quietly drowning in debt, one missed paycheck from disaster. Here's a simple test. If a sudden, unexpected windfall wouldn't change your lifestyle one bit, you've already quietly mastered this one. The broke but flashy spend to look rich. The actually rich spend almost nothing, precisely so they can stay rich. Habit 3. They obsess over their savings rate. They don't measure their success by their salary at all. They measure it by the percentage of that salary they actually manage to keep and invest. And the numbers are brutal here. A person earning $5,000 a month and saving 40% of it will quietly outbuild someone earning $15,000 and saving nothing at all. This is why so many high earners end up broke, while quiet, modest savers end up wealthy. A big income that gets fully spent builds you absolutely nothing. So track one number above all the others. Not your salary, but the exact percentage of your income that actually survives to the end of the month. Income gets you noticed. Your savings rate gets you rich. They never, ever confuse the two. Habit 4. They never let their lifestyle inflate. When their income doubles, their spending stays almost exactly the same. The entire raise, every dollar of it, goes straight into investments instead of upgrades. Most people do the opposite on autopilot. They upgrade the car, the flat, the holidays the very moment they earn a little more. So the gap they invest never actually grows. It's a treadmill. You run faster and faster, earning more and more, but you somehow never actually move forward, because the spending always rises to swallow it. The single most powerful move you can make. The very next time you get a raise, pretend it never happened, and invest every dollar of it. Earn more, leave the same, invest the difference. That one sentence, repeated quietly for decades, is most of the entire game. Habit 5. They own assets, not liabilities. Every dollar they can possibly spare goes into things that pay them back. Shares, businesses, and property that quietly earns rent month after month. The average person does the reverse. They fill their life with liabilities. The finance car, the gadgets, the endless stuff that only ever drains money out of their pocket. And here's the clever part. The wealthy buy their assets first, then let those assets quietly pay for the luxuries later. The order, it turns out, is everything. Over time they quietly build a whole fleet of little money machines. Each one humming away, each one paying for a little more of their freedom. Before you buy anything, just ask one question. Does this put money into my pocket, or take it out? That single question changes everything. Habit 6. They invest relentlessly, and almost never sell. They keep investing through booms, crashes, wars, and panics. Every single month, automatically, no matter what the headlines happen to be screaming that week. And just as importantly, they almost never sell. Because every time you sell, you interrupt compounding, which is the one quiet force that's actually doing the work of making you rich. The average investor does the most expensive thing possible. They panic sell at the bottom, then buy back in at the top. They let their emotions trade for them. The simplest way to copy them? Set up an automatic monthly investment, and then genuinely forget your password for the next 10 years. Time in the market, not timing the market. They let decades, not minutes, do every bit of the heavy lifting. Habit 7. They reinvest every dividend and every profit. When their investments pay out, they don't go and spend it. They plow it straight back in, buying even more of the asset that just paid them. This is the snowball that everyone talks about but few actually build. Returns that earn returns, that then go on to earn even bigger returns. It's how the curve quietly bends upward. It feels almost painfully slow at first. A few $100s of dividends reinvested seems pointless. But give it 20 years, and that quiet habit becomes a genuine fortune. And most brokers let you simply tick one box to reinvest every dividend automatically. That single box, left tick for decades, is quietly transformative. Spending your dividends feels good for a single day. Reinvesting them quietly builds wealth for the rest of your life. Habit 8. They keep serious cash reserves. Behind almost every wealthy person sits a deep cushion of cash. Enough to sleep soundly through absolutely any storm that comes their way. It means they are never, ever a forced seller. A crash, a sudden job loss, a medical emergency, none of it can ever make them panic and dump their investments at the worst possible time. The overstretched person has no buffer at all, so a single bad month can wipe out years of progress. The wealthy build a buffer first, precisely so that never happens to them. A good rule of thumb here. Keep at least 6 to 12 months of expenses in cash, untouched, before you go chasing any higher returns. Cash isn't lazy money sitting there doing nothing. It's the holding power that lets them stay calm and even buy, when everyone else is desperately selling. Habit 9. They never borrow just to look rich. They will happily borrow money to buy an asset that grows. They will never borrow to buy a car, a watch, or a holiday that only shrinks in value from the day they get it. Consumer debt is the quietest wealth killer there is. Paying interest on things that lose value is a small fortune flowing steadily in completely the wrong direction. That shiny finance car doesn't just cost you the monthly payment. It costs you everything that money could have become, compounding away, for the next 30 years. Use a dead simple filter. If a thing goes down in value, pay cash or don't buy it. If it reliably goes up, then borrowing can actually make sense. Good debt buys you assets. Bad debt buys you the appearance of wealth. They know the difference between the two stone cold. Habit 10. They diversify. Once they've actually built some wealth, they almost never bet it all on one stock, one property, or one single idea. The fortune gets spread carefully across many different baskets. It's simply how they survive being wrong. And everyone, no matter how smart, is eventually badly wrong about something. Diversification means one mistake never takes you out of the game. You hear the stories of people who went all in on one thing and won enormously. You never hear about the far larger crowd who did the exact same thing and lost everything. And for most people this is gloriously easy. A single low-cost global index fund instantly spreads you across thousands of companies, all around the world. Concentration can make you rich. Diversification is what keeps you rich. They quietly graduate from the first to the second. Now, those first 10 were really the money mechanics. The dollars and cents engine of getting rich. The next 10 go a level deeper, into mindset and character. Habit 11. They legally minimize their tax. They obsess over keeping every dollar they earn, using every legal shelter, relief, and structure that's actually available to them. Tax is just another cost to be managed. Here in Singapore, that means maxing out CPF top-ups, using SRS to lower their income tax, and holding tax-efficient global funds rather than the ones that quietly leak money to foreign taxes. Most people leave thousands of dollars of perfectly legal tax reliefs completely untouched every year, simply because they never bother to learn what's there. Spend just one afternoon a year actually learning your tax reliefs. It is quite possibly the highest hourly rate you will ever earn in your life. It's never about dodging tax. It's about refusing to pay a single dollar more than the law actually asks of you. Habit 12. They think in decades. While most people are obsessing over this week's stock price or the latest scary headline, the wealthy are quietly planning 10 and 20 years out. A long-time horizon completely changes the game. It turns volatility from a terror into a non-event. A brutal, scary year becomes just a tiny blip on a 30-year chart. The short-term thinker panics and bails out at the worst moment. The long-term thinker just shrugs, keeps buying, and waits. Same market, two completely different outcomes. A useful little habit. Before any money decision, just ask, will this even matter in 10 years? Most of what we panic over today simply won't. Patience isn't really a virtue to them. It's a strategy. It's the single biggest edge that a small, ordinary investor actually has over the professionals. Habit 13. They buy freedom, not status. Their real goal was never a flashy car or a giant house. It was freedom. The simple ability to do what they want, when they want, with whoever they want. So they spend their money on the things that buy back time and options. Not on the things that simply signal money to a few strangers who frankly aren't even looking. The trap most people fall into is spending money they don't have, to buy things they don't need, to impress people they don't even like. It's a quiet, expensive prison. So before a big purchase, ask the real question. Is this actually buying me more freedom and time, or just one fleeting moment of looking impressive? Status is what you show to other people. Freedom is what you quietly keep for yourself. They always choose the second one. Habit 14. They stay frugal, even when rich. Here's the strange truth that surprises almost everyone. The wealthier many of these people get, the more frugal they actually become, not less. Because frugality was never about being poor. It was the exact habit that quietly made them rich in the first place, and they have absolutely no intention of ever dropping it. But to be clear, this isn't about being cheap or miserable. They'll spend lavishly on the few things they genuinely love. They just spend almost nothing on everything else. The goal here was never deprivation. It's intention. Knowing exactly what you truly value, and then refusing to waste a single cent on what you don't. Spend extravagantly on what you truly value. And be utterly, ruthlessly ruthless about cutting everything that you don't. Habit 15. They know they're enough. They have a clear, specific number in their mind. The amount of wealth that, for them, means they have genuinely, finally won the game. Without that number, you end up chasing forever. Always needing the next million just to feel safe, always comparing upward. It becomes a race with no finish line you can ever reach. This is the quiet tragedy you see in some very wealthy people. They have far more than they could ever spend, but because they never define enough, they still feel poor and anxious. So genuinely write your number down. The amount that means you have won. Because a goal you can't actually see is a goal you never quite reach. Knowing you're enough is what finally lets you stop, exhale, and actually enjoy the wealth you worked so hard to build. Habit 16. They take calculated risks. They are not reckless gamblers throwing money at hot tips. But they are not frozen by fear either, leaving everything in the bank. They take smart, asymmetric bets. That means they risk only what they can genuinely afford to lose, on bets where the potential upside dwarfs the downside. Heads they win big, tails they simply survive and try again. The two ways people fail here are equal and opposite. Some risk nothing and stay poor and save forever. Others risk everything on one bet and get wiped out. The wealthy avoid both extremes. A clean test for any risk. Can I survive the absolute worst case? If yes, and the upside is huge, it just might be a bet worth quietly taking. Wealth is rarely built by playing it perfectly safe. But it's never, ever built by betting the entire farm either. Habit 17. They delay gratification. They are absolute masters of waiting. Of skipping the small, instant reward today, in exchange for a much, much bigger one a few years down the road. The new car can wait. The bigger house can wait. The fancy holiday can wait. The investment that one day quietly pays for all three of them comes first. There's a famous experiment where children who could wait for a second marshmallow did dramatically better in life. Wealth, it turns out, is mostly just that exact test, repeated for 30 years. They use a simple trick. Just wait. Put a 30-day pause on any big want, and watch how many of them quietly disappear all on their own. Almost everything good in money comes to the people who can wait. And almost everyone, sadly, simply cannot. Habit 18. They buy when everyone else panics. When markets crash, and everyone around them is terrified and frantically selling, the wealthy are calmly, quietly buying instead. Because they understand something most people forget in the moment. A crash isn't your money vanishing. It's the world's best asset suddenly going on sale, marked right down for anyone brave enough to buy. This is why crashes quietly transfer wealth, from the panic and over-leverage, into the hands of the patient and well-prepared. Every single downturn, the same thing happens. And you don't need to be a hero about it. Simply keep investing automatically right through a crash, while everyone else freezes, and you've already won. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. They don't just quote that famous line. They actually, calmly live by it. Habit 19. They take extreme ownership. They never blame the economy, the government, their boss, or their bad luck for their financial situation. They take full, complete ownership of every bit of it. Because the moment you blame outside forces for your situation, you quietly hand them all of your power. You make yourself a helpless passenger in your own financial life. And of course, plenty of things genuinely are unfair. But the wealthy focus relentlessly on the one thing that actually moves the needle. What can I do about it, starting today? It's a strange paradox. Blaming everyone else feels powerful in the moment, but it leaves you helpless. Owning it feels heavy, but it quietly sets you free. Taking full responsibility feels heavy at first. But it's the only mindset that ever puts you back in the driver's seat of your own life. Habit 20. They never stop learning. They read constantly, and voraciously. Books, reports, and especially the hard-won lessons of the people who walked this exact path before them. And their knowledge compounds, in precisely the same way their money does. Each new idea quietly building on the last, until they simply see opportunities that others walk straight past. The most successful investors in history, even in their 90s, still spend most of their day quietly reading. They treat learning as a lifelong job, never a school-age phase. And it compounds shockingly fast. Just one good finance book a month is 12 a year, and over 100 in a decade. You become almost unrecognizable. In a world that changes this fast, the person who simply refuses to stop learning quietly leaves absolutely everyone else behind. And those 10 were all about the mind. This final 10 is about the things that quietly protect everything else. Your time, your health, and your people. Habit 21. They focus only on what they control. They waste exactly zero energy on the things they cannot change. Interest rates, the daily news, what the market decides to do tomorrow morning. They simply let all of it go. Instead, they pour all of that focus into the small handful of things they genuinely can control. How much they save, what they choose to buy, and how long they are willing to hold. Most people do the exact reverse. They spend hours stressing over scary headlines they can't influence at all, and almost no time on the savings rate that's entirely in their hands. So quietly build a "not my problem" list. The scary headlines, the predictions, the endless noise. Then pour all of that safe energy into your savings rate. Master the few things inside your control, and the things outside it quietly stop mattering nearly as much. Habit 22. They build multiple income streams. They almost never rely on a single paycheck. There's usually a business, some dividends, a bit of rent, a side venture. Several rivers all flowing in, never just one. It does two powerful things at once. If one stream suddenly dries up, the others just keep flowing, so they're far harder to knock down. And together, they build wealth dramatically faster. The person with one income is permanently one bad meeting away from disaster. That fragility quietly forces them into fear-based decisions for their entire working life. You don't need 10 of them. Just start with a second one. A small side income, some dividends, a rented room. The first extra stream is by far the hardest. A single income makes you fragile. Multiple incomes make you free. They build, patiently, toward free. Habit 23. They own equity, not just a salary. A salary has a hard ceiling, and it stops completely the very moment you do. So instead, they relentlessly chase ownership. A slice of something that keeps growing. Shares in great companies, equity in a business, a stake in a property. Something that keeps on paying them whether they personally show up to work that day or not. This is the real reason founders and early employees get wealthy, while equally smart, equally hardworking salaried staff often don't. One group owned the upside. The other just rented their time. So actively look for ways to get a stake. Company shares, a profit share, your own small venture. Anything that pays you for owning, not just for showing up. You rarely get truly rich renting out your own time by the hour. You get rich owning a piece of something genuinely valuable. Habit 24. They go deep, not wide. Most of them got genuinely wealthy by becoming truly excellent at one single thing. Not by lightly dabbling in 20 different side hustles at once. Deep mastery is exactly what the market pays a serious premium for. The world rewards the focused specialist who's the best at one thing, far more than the scattered jack of all trades. In a world full of shiny distractions, their ability to go deep on one thing, and ignore the rest, has quietly become a genuine superpower. So pick the one skill that could most change your income, and get genuinely world-class at it. Depth, not a dozen half-finished little side hustles. Focus to build your wealth. Then, and only then, diversify to keep it. First one thing, then everything. Habit 25. They choose their circle carefully. They deliberately surround themselves with ambitious, disciplined, positive people. And just as deliberately, they distance themselves from the constant complainers and the reckless spenders. Because, slowly and invisibly, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Your closest circle quietly becomes your future. If everyone around you finances flashy cars and lives paycheck to paycheck, that slowly becomes your normal. If everyone around you saves, invests, and builds, that becomes your normal instead. You can't always pick your family or your colleagues. But you can absolutely choose your mentors, your books, and exactly who you give your evenings to. You become the average of your 5 closest people. So choose those 5 very, very deliberately. Habit 26. They learn from those already ahead. Rather than stubbornly figuring everything out the hard, painful, expensive way, they actively seek out people who have already done it, and they learn directly from them. Because a single good mentor, or honestly even just a great book by one, can save you an entire decade of slow, expensive, completely avoidable mistakes. And a mentor doesn't have to be someone you actually know. Through their books, their talks, their interviews, the greatest minds in the world will quietly teach you, for almost nothing. So pick 3 people, alive or dead, who have already built the life you actually want. Then go and quietly devour everything they have ever written or said. Why pay full price for every single lesson yourself, when you can learn most of them secondhand, for almost free? Habit 27. They guard their time fiercely. They treat their time as far more precious than their money. Because money, you can always make more of. Time, once it's gone, is gone forever, and they never forget it. So they become masters of the word no. They say no to almost everything, precisely so they can say a full, wholehearted yes to the very few things that genuinely matter. And once they can afford to, they happily pay other people to do the tasks they hate, freeing up their own precious hours for the handful of things that only they can actually do. So audit where your hours genuinely go, for just 1 week. Most people are honestly shocked, and find entire days they can quietly reclaim. You can always earn back a lost dollar. You can never, ever earn back a lost hour. They build their entire lives around that one fact. Habit 28. They protect their health. They quietly understand a simple truth that's easy to forget while you're grinding. All the wealth in the entire world is completely worthless if you are too sick to actually enjoy it. So they invest seriously in their sleep, their movement, and their food. It's the one asset that genuinely compounds over a lifetime, and the only one you can never, ever buy back. It's a brutal trait so many people make without realizing. They quietly sacrifice their health to build their wealth in their 40s. Then spend their exact wealth trying to buy it back in their 60s. And the basics are completely free. Sleep enough, walk every day, lift something heavy sometimes, and don't eat total garbage. Boring, and quietly priceless. Build a $10 million portfolio and quietly ruin your body doing it, and you didn't actually win. You just lost a little more slowly. Habit 29. They protect their relationships. The research here is genuinely startling. The large majority of self-made wealthy people are in long, stable, low-drama marriages and partnerships. And it makes complete sense, because almost nothing destroys wealth faster than a messy, bitter divorce. It can quite literally cut a fortune cleanly in half, overnight. But it's deeper than just avoiding divorce. A calm, supportive home gives you the stability and the clear head to make good, patient, long-term decisions. Chaos at home quietly breeds chaos in your money. So invest in your home life as deliberately as you invest in your portfolio. Because the strongest financial plan on earth quietly falls apart inside a war zone. A calm, supportive home life is a quiet financial superpower. Boring stability, it turns out, is extremely profitable. And finally, habit 30. They give back. Once they finally have enough, the whole goal quietly shifts. It moves from getting to giving. From accumulating more to leaving something meaningful behind. So they give generously, they mentor the next generation coming up behind them, and they think hard about the legacy they will one day leave behind. And it's not pure selflessness either. Study after study shows that giving genuinely makes people happier than spending the very same money on themselves. It's the rare win-win. And you really don't have to wait for 10 million. Giving even a little, right now, quietly builds the exact identity of a person who already has more than enough. Because in the end, the wealthiest people all seem to discover the very same quiet truth. The real return on money is what you do for others. So there they are. 30 habits of the people who quietly make it into the $10 million club. And notice that almost none of them are about being a genius, or getting lucky, or earning some massive salary. They're about discipline, patience, and quiet character. Which means they are genuinely available to almost anyone, including you. You don't need all 30. Start with just 3. Master those, add 3 more, and let the habits quietly compound, exactly like the money does. And here's the most encouraging part of all. Every single habit on this entire list is completely free. Not one of them requires money you don't have, only choices you can start making today. Pick your 3, starting today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you, somewhere up that curve, in the next one. Thanks for watching. If this made building wealth in Singapore a little clearer, give it a like and subscribe to Lukebook so you don't miss the next episode. See you in the next one.